Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel for this Thursday, September the 16th, which is normally kind of a relaxing day for me. So this is going to be kind of a very casual news story, but a very significant and important one in our continuing discussion of the establishment style narrative that we are familiar with. And maybe it took Nicki Minaj for people to realize and see what we as conservative commentators, moderates, classical liberals, conservatives such as myself, as well as individuals on the right, as to what can happen to an individual when they express anything contrary to the establishment narrative. So we're going to be going over Nicki Minaj's incident that happened on Twitter. So Nicki on Twitter has over 22.7 million followers. And this is significant because in the establishment left progressive narrative tribal warfare, this is significant because this means that she has a lot of influence. And influence to them is part of their superficial popularity currency. And if you have influence, you have currency, and you have the ability to influence individuals. And influence is power, which is why there was so much negativity around President Trump, because he was in the most powerful and influential position in the world. But as you can see, the establishment does not relegate itself or has any boundaries. So they will suspend even the president of the United States from their establishment tribal culture. And that's what happened with Nicki here on Twitter. So in a very constructive way of framing this, without going into the exact wording that she used, Nicki essentially made a tweet about her cousin's friend who had gotten the vaccination and experienced some inflammation in the man region of his body. And of course, that isn't necessarily part of the side effects, as it were, but it was just something that she mentioned. And she added to that to say, people should pray on it, as in the vaccine, and make informed decisions as individuals. And of course, this does not fall in line with the establishment narrative or the Joe Biden administration's desire for their gold star in getting 70% vaccinated. And we saw what happened when Joe Biden tried to take credit for being the president that ended the war in Afghanistan. That was a disaster. And of course, we're finding out about the establishment when it comes to General Milley and how he's going behind people's backs. And of course, we also talked about Nancy Pelosi also convening with the Joint Chiefs of Staff to ensure that President Trump didn't try some, coup. But nonetheless, guys, Nicki Minaj is now facing cancel culture, wokeness, and the outrage mob and the White House narrative. So she has now, as I understand it, she was temporarily suspended from Twitter, so she still has an active account, as you can see here, but she says that she is done with the Twitters, and even conservative Jack Posobiec is mentioning her, as well as many individuals in the conservative sphere, if you want to call Jack Posobiec a conservative. But I'm more of a classic conservative, so some things I align with certain individuals, other things I don't. But, I try to remain optimistic and aware. I don't want to use the word open-minded, but I am willing to listen to opposing views. But Nicki, of course, is, as I said, just her presence, her popularity is very significant. As you see here on Instagram, she has 157 million followers. And this is incredibly significant. And the thing about Nicki, despite some of the controversy that she has, now she's a controversial figure because individuals like her that have this level of celebrity and success in life did not achieve this success by simply being passive and following the even flow of the popularity contest. She had to earn this on her own, of course, doing the right things and people recognizing her abilities and talents within her profession. And so I'm not saying that to disparage or be sarcastic or cynical. I'm just saying the woman has achieved a level of success that has put her in a position of influence that is concerning to the administration. And what I like about Nicki is she's very honest and she doesn't hold anything back. In a related live Instagram video that she put out, this is all over the internet. It can be kind of challenging to find some of this material. You can find it under Nicki Minaj China Live. Essentially what she's saying is apparently she was going to do a concert in China, but of course China having a lot of human rights issues, as well as being a communist country, they decide what goes out into their populace. So despite the fact that they have their own social media, like TikTok that most people are familiar with, they don't have the same TikTok. They use things like Bilibili, WeChat, and other internal closed network type internet. They don't access the world. They do allow a few people to access the internet via VPN, but of course this is all monitored. And mostly the people who are able to access Western media are there to engage in what's called soft power. So they go on there, they falsely inflate products on Amazon, for example, that are Chinese-made products. They'll go on there and they'll do all these false positive reviews, upvotes, and that sort of thing. Or they'll go on to certain channels like we talk about ADV China, Winston, Serpent ZA, and Lawai86 or Matthew. They'll go on there and they'll try to do what's called a raid brigade and get them flagged and suspended or banned from YouTube. But fortunately, that has not happened to Matthew or Winston. But what's happening to Nicki is very indicative to what happened to President Trump. Except when it came to President Trump, the establishment was already aligned. So suspending President Trump was not a big deal for the big tech industry because, they can work together and do this in a duopoly of, that we talk about often. So here in this particular, I can't play it, but in this particular live broadcast by Nicki on Instagram, she talks disparagingly about China, which is, she's just speaking truth, actually, about China, which is disparaging when put into context of what the Chinese feel would be inappropriate to say about them, as well as what the narratives of our country is when it comes to China. And President Trump is a perfect example of holding back this establishment, as we're seeing with General Milley, who was willing to go behind the president's back to ensure that the establishment had their place of power. The other interesting thing here is that from Fox News, Nicki Minaj hits back at Biden White House after it claims vaccine-related phone call not visit was offered. So basically what happens here in short is that the White House wanted to do their re-education camp with Nicki over the phone. And Nicki was like, no, I want it to be public so that people will know what's being said, because we already know what the narrative is going to be, or we know what the cancel culture, outrage mob, wokeness, and the administration is going to say. They're going to say, get on board or else. You may have been suspended from Twitter for a little while, but we will do the same thing we did to President Trump. That's exactly what would have happened. Do y'all think I would go on the internet and lie about being invited to effing White House, she says here? So she doesn't hold back. She said she told White House officials she would rather not travel and suggested some kind of either public or private live video on social media. The White House was open to doing a live session, she said, but never took a trip to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue off the table. But never took a trip off of it off the table. In other words, she would have gone to visit. Earlier Wednesday, White House officials suggested the administration offered only a phone call with the rapper to speak with experts on vaccine safety. I love it. Experts, the talking heads, the compliancy authority, as it were, the authoritative voices, as YouTube likes to say, because when we mention the C virus, we're often demonetized. But this is a problem for the budding president, the turn your back Biden administration, because you have a very powerful, very influential person in Nicki Minaj. The White House has invited me, and I think it's a step in the right direction. Yes, I'm going. I'll be dressed in all pink like Legally Blonde, so they know I mean business. I'll ask questions on behalf of the people who have been made fun of for simply being human. So she was trying to fight back a little bit last night for several hours. I kind of watched it in a bit of a level of amusement. But there is no one who is above the narrative. And you can see here that she went on to say several things to the community to her community on Twitter. And, I totally can relate to it. She was obviously being brigaded. She was obviously being botted. And what that means is they get a collection of people to go on there to either respond to what she's saying, in other words, to ratio it. So that means that there is more comments than likes to what she's actually saying. So that's called ratioing. And they do this, and the other thing that happens to your account is you become so overwhelmed with notifications that trying to respond becomes impractical or next to impossible. So for example, when I was bombarded or raid brigaded by Antifa, I was getting messages. I was getting about 20 messages or notifications every 5 minutes. I ended up deleting over 963, I think it was 963 accounts I had to block just to be able to function on Twitter. So here was, I think this was her, one of her comments here. My cousin in Trinidad won't get the vaccine because his friend got it and became, so I can't mention this or the other part. In the swelling, as I mentioned earlier, his friend was weeks away from getting married. Now the girl called off the wedding. Now, see, I don't know. It seems kind of a bit tongue-in-cheek here. So, as she says here, so just pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. And I say the same thing. Speak to your doctor. The government, Fauci, the CDC, as well-intended as they may be, they don't know your medical history. They don't know your allergies. They don't know your drug interactions. They don't know procedures you've had. They don't know surgeries you've had. They don't know things about you that are important to your health. And just like when I do videos here on YouTube, I have to mention that, these are not FDA-approved products and to consult your physician, because I'm just giving you my personal information. So Nicki Minaj says she's in Twitter jail, will never use platform again. Now, this is going to be very significant because Twitter wants people to be using their platform. They really had no problem with President Trump being on there because it's, a lot of interaction for them, a lot of engagement for them. But for Nicki here, so she says here, right, I can't speak to, agree with, even look at someone from a particular political party. People aren't human anymore. If you're black and a Democrat tells you to shove marbles up your rear, you simply have to. If another party tells you to look out for that bus, stand there and get hit. So she's basically saying very similar things that Candace Owens says, that Larry Elder says, and these are the kind of things that really will affect her career. And, we'll see how much of an impact this will have because, like I said, this girl has a lot of influence. 157 million followers on Instagram, 22.7 million followers on Twitter. And if you haven't already, guys, make sure you're following me here on Twitter. So I'm not surprised that Rihanna is also being suggested to me, Lil Wayne, and so forth. But I can totally relate to what she's going through. I've had the same experience myself. The White House has invited me, and I think it's a step in the right direction. Of course, this is what we just mentioned ago, where she was going to go. And I really agree with what she was saying. I really think that she would stand on principle. She has no particular qualms about speaking what's on her mind. If she was willing to stand up to China, then absolutely I agree 100%. Now, this is what I mean by ratioed here. You see, there's more people that like what she says, and this is regarding Tucker Carlson, who kind of came to her defense and went over what we just talked about with her cousin and her cousin's friend there in Trinidad. So you see here that she has 123,000 likes versus 8,900 comments. So there's a positive ratio here. So more people like what she says here, or she's agreeing with Tucker Carlson, actually. So she played the video from Tucker Carlson on Fox News. But ladies and gentlemen, in a way, I'm happy that this happened. Not that I'm not happy that this happened to, okay, let me say this. I'm happy that it happened. I'm not particularly happy that it happened to Nicki in this way, because this is what the establishment does. They try to shut you down. They try to suppress you. They try to keep, your your information suppressed. And I have seen this very much on my channel. Now, I'm a very small YouTuber. So I don't, I'm 6,900 subscribers, almost at 7,000. And the difference and significance in my views have dropped dramatically. But here's what's interesting. For example, here's a typical Friday vlog. 115 views is not bad for a Friday vlog. And here you have a video that I did on Just Survive, which is about 2/3 of my followers are gamers. So they're not particularly caught up in politics. So I would not anticipate them, always going along with the Friday vlog. But you can see here with just a simple video I did with Just Survive is 554 views. And then, of course, when you go down to my video shorts, which I know aren't being suppressed, aren't being pushed down, aren't competing with the premium, with premium users, as it were, or preferred users on YouTube, I'm averaging around 1,000 views on these videos. So these are totally unaffected by any sort of suppression or any sort of algorithm demonetization or suppression. So I can totally relate to what Nicki is going through. And I think it took someone like her to have to experience this for people to kind of take notice about what's going on. Although I don't anticipate tons and tons of people will be particularly, informed by this. I guess you could say they'll just scroll on by. But I definitely wanted to share this information with you guys. I think it's very significant. Again, I empathize with her. It's unfortunate that she had to experience this, but it's important that people understood. Now, people hopefully will understand what actually happens when you go against the narrative, when you go against what Biden's trying to do. And we know from Molly Ball's article that I always mention that there was a cabal of people, as she says, that were working together to essentially interfere with an election for a desired outcome. And you guys, of course, can see that by going to my channel and looking up Time Magazine and search, and you guys can find it there. But I want to thank you guys for hanging around. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the comments. Thank you for all the support you give the channel, as well as to my new tech sites. Below this video, you will find links to my social media, to include Twitter and Instagram, for example. So you guys can follow me there because I do daily posts. And, of course, tomorrow will be the Friday vlog, so make sure you are on top of that by, as you see there, that would be the channel icon appearing right there on the screen to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can click on that to subscribe, as well as receive notifications when I have posted videos on the channel, which may not necessarily be just the Friday vlog, but also these sorts of updates. And I will see you guys tomorrow in the Friday vlog.